Welcome to Spirits in the Theater. I'm your host, Mike Mayashiro, and today we're going to talk about Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey. Is that the name of the movie? All right, listen. Margot Robbie, bravo. Harley Quinn, oh my gosh. Obviously, traditionally, this character is already insane. So Margot Robbie delivers. Did I love this movie? No. Was it entertaining? Yeah. Was it dark and demonic? Yeah. Just like, obviously, Suicide Squad, Harley's character comes from that world. My gosh, I don't know how many people's knees she broke in this movie. There's a moment where she straight up jumps on a guy's knees and he inverts his legs and the noise and they show it and you're like, ah! And I wish that I didn't see that. It was horrible. Am I recommending this film to anyone? No, I'm not. I don't know that I'd recommend it. But I'm a huge superhero fan, and virtually any superhero movie that comes out, I'm probably going to go see, except for maybe some exceptions. This was one of those situations where I don't love this. It happened with the new Charlie's Angels movie that came out, and I think another one I saw recently. But in this movie, all the dudes were evil. Every bad guy character in this movie was a male. And all the females were the heroes, and everyone they beat the crap out of and demolished was a dude. And so you've got these eventually 5 women destroying just a bunch of men on repeat for 2 hours on some level. At some point it starts to feel pretty obnoxious and insanely slanted. And it's not just the brutality and the violence, it's also like every male character in the story is a D-bag on some level. He's sexist, he's condescending, he's arrogant, he's evil, he's corrupt, he's perverted. All of them. Like, there is no upstanding male character, and then you just see these women struggling in this obviously oppressive, male-dominant, corrupted world. And I'm just like, man, this narrative is not helpful. It's hard to watch, to want to celebrate, you know? I experienced the same lens with the Charlie's Angels movie that came out with Elizabeth Banks and Kristen Stewart and Naomi Scott and all them. Every dude in that movie was evil. The girls were the heroes, and they beat the crap out of only dudes. And just like, oh, there's a theme here that after a while you're kind of like, what are we doing? This is kind of crazy, you know? And I'm a dude, so I get that my perspective's already a whatever. And we've got lots of movies where the men are the only heroes. I get it, but is the proper response to wanting to correct sexism in the past just doing the opposite and retaliating from the other side? Like, to me, it's like embarrassingly barbaric and depraved and sad. So that was definitely a theme in this movie that I had trouble getting past, which is a bummer. Some of the action scenes were cool, and I actually wonder if Margot Robbie did some of those stunts. I wasn't sure because it seemed like it was her based on the camera work, and I was like, oh, that's kind of impressive if it was. It's interesting to see the different processes a couple of these characters went through. One thing I did appreciate was an aspect of recognizing what it might be like as a woman in an environment like this, and what it might be like to have to try and survive or be powerful or take your voice back. I think there were moments where I was like, oh, okay, I could see that. The narrative was so slanted and so biased, it was hard for me to accept some of the positive that was probably in it. I think I saw some of the attempt there, but it was so off kilter and like disproportionate that it was like really hard to be able to celebrate. And also just so violent, you know? And Ewan McGregor's character, my goodness, just, you know, a bit sociopathic and obviously like twisted. There's some nasty scenes, especially with him, and just the brutality that, you know, it's not just bloodshed, it's like the bloodthirst that starts to become pretty alarming when you experience movies like this. I'm not trying to just dog on this movie, but most of this movie's entertainment value was based on nasty things, which is a bummer and something I do have to hold against the film and the people who produce it. I'm like, this thing is dark. The appetite that it's trying to appeal to in the audience and things it wants to like offer is like the bloodlust thing. It's the brutality. It's the like violence and domination, the tearing apart of human flesh. Like, it might be like, glazed over in humor and amazing special effects and cinematography or whatever, but it doesn't remove the spirit behind the film, which is let's destroy man, let's tear them apart, let's just rip human lives to shreds and like dehumanize them, and let's do it for a while and let's watch it on repeat. It's like, shoot, problem, There was a moment where, I don't remember the name of this character, but she's a cop and she just continues to be looked down upon and discriminated against, specifically because she's a woman, but also because of her age and because of, her commitment to her work and people stealing credit for things she had done. And there's a moment, which I did appreciate this, so this is something I did want to like take a moment to look at. She had continuously been overlooked or misunderstood, or the credit she deserved for the things that she brought to the table was given to someone else. Eventually there comes a point where she decides, you know what, I'm not working for this corrupt department anymore. I signed up for this ideal, and that's not what this is. It's not how I'm being treated. It's not what's happening in the workplace. She decides to remove herself and take matters into her own hands. The vigilante thing, the disregard for the law, I don't know that I'm celebrating that, but what I did appreciate in this character's journey throughout the story was she finally decided to take matters into her own hands, not necessarily out of rebellion or like necessarily even trying to be a brat, but realizing she was not going to be looked after. She was not going to be taken care of. And so she needed to make a choice to value herself. That, I was like, I can appreciate that. And that to me spoke of some heroic choice in the midst of the carnality of this whole thing. So I guess I'm going to say, I don't know if this is my practice in this series, but I don't know that I recommend this film. There's not a ton of great stuff coming out of it. There were funny moments, there were some cool shots, but by and large, most of it was scraping the bottom, just giving us stuff that's not healthy for human beings to consume, visually or otherwise. So, yeah, something to be aware of. And remember, guys, when you're watching a movie,